Hey everyone, and welcome to my review of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Not exactly the classic Grand Prix, and not quite as entertaining as, say, the opening two races, but even so, there are plenty of talking points to come out of the race at Portimao. So, your top three of Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Valtteri Bottas. Not the first time that I've said that, but not a bad race, and like I say, not quite as thrilling as the previous two races this season. But even so, plenty of talking points and another um, number of great drives from a number of different drivers, which we'll come on to. But I guess we have to start with Lewis Hamilton. Not the most perfect race to start off with. Obviously, we saw these two alphas get together or collide um, in the early stages of the race, which meant the safety car came out. And then after that restart, whilst Bottas was in the lead, Verstappen was able to get by Lewis, and at that point you thought game on between both drivers, and also with Bottas as well. But Lewis then was able to really then begin once he got past Verstappen, really stamped down his authority and really put a great move on his teammate Valtteri Bottas on the finishing straight. And then really once Lewis was out in front, he looked in total control of the race and won the race with a comfortable margin. And yeah, really good race from Lewis. Obviously, it would have been gutted to not start on pole on Saturday, but it's not nothing's won on Saturday. It's on Sunday where points are won, and Lewis another win. No, 97 wins in Formula One. You'd like to think that he will get his 100th win this season. Where that will be, I'm not sure, but yeah. So heading to Spain, so again, it's a track that again should suit Mercedes, and you wouldn't back against Lewis winning that race as well. But again, Lewis, great win for him in Portugal and Portimao. And, like I say, once he got past Bottas, he looked in total control, in total supremacy. As for Bottas, he did, to be fair, the opening stage of the race, he did everything right. He was able to get a good lead, was able to build a good lead at the start before safety car came out. And he was doing everything right. It was only when once Lewis got past him, he then began to struggle, and then obviously then he got overtaken it during well, once he pitted after Verstappen pitted. Obviously Verstappen was on much his tyres were um not necessarily fresher, but Verstappen got used to his tyres more, whereas Bottas just literally just came out of the pits. Um, his tyres were pretty cold, and that allowed Verstappen or gave him the opportunity to get by Bottas. But yeah, Valtteri, after a fantastic qualifying on Saturday, wasn't quite able to make it stick on Sunday. I mean, still finished on the podium, still finished third, but obviously with Valtteri, if he wants to be a serious contender for the drivers' title this year, then he needs to be he needs to get one over Lewis, and he needs to start getting, trying to get try and get inside Lewis's mind really, and try to get those wins. And if Valtteri can do that, then you just never know. And look, it's still very much early stages in the season, and it's not about how you start; it's where you end up at the end of the season that counts. So obviously, Valtteri got a much better result in Portugal compared to Imola. But yeah, Valtteri I think just needs to be that little bit more aggressive when he gets the opportunity, but obviously play fair as well. But yeah, Valtteri, not the end of the world that he finished third, but I'm sure he would have wanted more, especially after putting the car on pole on Saturday. And as I've just mentioned, going to Spain now, and again, that's a track you would expect Mercedes to be strong at. So Valtteri, you never know. If he picks up a win in Barcelona, then you just never know what could happen and what that could lead to for the rest of the season. And speaking of teammates, so Max Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez finished fourth, so qualified fourth and ended up finishing fourth. And really, throughout Sunday, Checo was really in a race of his own. In no man's land, he got past, well, Lando and Norris got past, who we're going to come on to. Lando got by Checo during the early stages of the race, but Sergio then was able to get by. And then really, he spent a majority of the race really in a race of his own, no, not threatening, not quite threatening the front, but also there was no threat from behind either. Then we saw Checo go onto the softs towards the end of the race to try and pump in or try and get the fastest lap, which didn't materialise in the end as Valtteri and Max decided to do exactly the same. But even so, a solid race from Checo, and I think he needed that, especially after Imola, where he didn't pick up any points. So I think it was a race where Checo just needed a solid result and just to pick up points. And yeah, fourth place for Checo, not a bad result at all for the Mexican driver. Um, so we come on to talk about Lando Norris and McLaren. Lando's just going about his business quietly, isn't he? Three fantastic and strong results for the Brit, and yeah, another great drive from Lando Norris. Didn't quite have the pace to be right up there to challenge the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull, but rest of the best behind the Mercedes and Red Bull. So yeah, fantastic job from Lando Norris. And it got me thinking actually, when after because he's had these first three strong results for the 2021 season, and the way he's performing in Formula One. So this is his third season in Formula One, and it just makes me wonder with the performances with Lando, if he's able to keep this up. I mean, I expect him to have a bad race at some point in 2021, but if he carries on like he's performing this year, why wouldn't a team like Mercedes look at him? If they're considering their options for 2022, say worst case scenario, say if Lewis and Valtteri didn't um, weren't with a team for next season, why wouldn't they be looking at Lando? It's just trying to put the question out there. Would Lando do a good job at Mercedes? I personally think he could, but I expect McLaren would do everything in their power to in wanting to keep Lando. But as I say, Lando, he's just carrying on his business and going under the radar. You would say. But yeah, great drive from Lando on Sunday, and another fine result. Wasn't quite so plain sailing for Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously going out in Q1 on Saturday, so not the best of starts to the weekend for the Aussie. But to be fair, he made his way through the field on Sunday. Obviously, would have liked to have finished higher than ninth, but a couple of points, and yeah, more points for McLaren in the bag. But I know Daniel himself. I know he'll be looking for a lot more and to achieve a lot more with McLaren. But let's not forget, this is only his third race with McLaren, so it's going to take time for him to bed in. But obviously, say towards the mid part of the season, and it'll be then when I think really Daniel will definitely want to be um, on the same level as Lando, and he'll want to be beating Lando as well. So, but like I say, it's going to take time for Daniel to bed into a new team. But he proved that at Renault, when as soon as the first results he got, he was then able to, then the results started to come for Daniel. So give Ricardo time at McLaren, and I've got no doubts that he will come out of it strong, and he will begin to get some really strong results for McLaren. So not quite as strong as the weekends with Daniel, but I've got no doubts he will bounce back. Charles Leclerc, another great drive from the Monegasque drivers, finishing sixth. Yeah, I've got no doubts he would have been a little bit disappointed with how qualifying went, and he would want to have qualified higher up, but even so, Charles again just continues to drive that wheels off that Ferrari, doesn't it? And it was a tale of two at Ferrari. So whilst Charles had a good race, Carlos Sainz, oh yes, he I think qualified fifth on Saturday. But he fell through, fell down the field, and they missed out on points. They finished 11th on Sunday. So a disappointing race for Carlos, but a good race for Charles. And yeah, he just continues to drive the wheels off that Ferrari, and I've got no doubt that Ferrari, if they carry on the rate of improvements that they've made so far this season, they're going to be in contention for third, at least third in the constructors. So yeah, it's not been a spectacular start to the season for Ferrari, but it's been a solid start. And I mean, look, Carlos obviously will be disappointed with how it went in Portugal, but with a home race in Spain coming up, he'll definitely be looking to bounce back. And what a better place to bounce back and pick up a strong result than at your home race. So yeah, he'll be looking to bounce back. But I've got no doubt Carlos will do that, and he will get back to the results that he was able to churn out in Bahrain and also at Imola as well. And speaking of Spaniards, Fernando Alonso, really strong drive from the two-time world champion on Sunday, and a strong weekend for Alpines. Esteban Ocon finishing ahead of Fernando in the race, and some really good points for Alpine this weekend. Not exactly been no, not been the best of starts of the season for Alpine, but like I say, they look quick throughout the free practice sessions at Portimao. They look pretty quick, and definitely, I'm sure definitely got one or two people looking at Alpine at the weekend, thinking where's all these players come from all of a sudden. But I thought both Esteban and Fernando drove really well on Sunday, and some really good points for the team. And I've actually tipped Esteban. If you saw my predictions at the start of the season, the fact that Esteban I predicted would be one of the dark horses of the season, and I thought he did a stellar job on Sunday. And yeah, really good points for Alpine. And if they can build on that, then perhaps they could be a team to watch out for, and maybe be in contention for third in the constructors. So yeah, really good weekend for Alpine, and obviously, like Carlos, Fernando will be definitely won't be putting on a show in front of his home crowd on Sunday at the Spanish Grand Prix. So yeah, really good weekend for Alpine, and definitely something that they can build on. So we come on to Pierre Gasly and AlphaTauri. Another good performance from Pierre. Obviously, again, I'm sure he would like to have finished higher up, but again, finishing in the top 10, and he just continues to impress. So yeah, really good job from Pierre. Another difficult weekend for Yuki Tsunoda. Didn't quite get things rolling, but even so, as a rookie, you're gonna have good weekends, you're gonna have bad weekends, but it's about learning. And I'm sure Yuki, for me, Yuki, what he was able to do in the season opening race proved that he can cut it in Formula One. So it's just going to take a little bit more time for Yuki to just get used to being a Formula One driver. But I've got no doubts that um, he will go on to have a good season. And yeah, I can still see the excitement. I can still see why the Red Bull hierarchy are excited about Yuki Tsunoda. So yeah, not quite a strong weekend they would have liked at um, at Portimao, but I've got no doubts that he will bounce back. And just a couple of other points. Aston Martin, for them, not exactly a great Sunday, but I think what will give them a bit of confidence is the fact that Sebastian Vettel made it into Q3 on Saturday. I actually thought Seb did a really good job in qualifying on Saturday. Wasn't able to convert that into a points finish on Sunday, but I believe they've got upgrades coming up this weekend at Barcelona, so it'll be interesting to see whether those upgrades work. And I think Aston Martin need them pretty quick because they're behind. They're behind Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren, and you could argue they're behind Alpine as well. So yeah, fair bit of ground for Aston Martin um to pick up to no, they've got to obviously they've got to get results as quickly as they can for them to be closer to the top two teams, but even to get to the top of the midfield as well. So that's not going to be easy. So yeah, plenty of things to Aston Martin need to sort out pretty quickly, because if they don't, then they could find themselves towards the lower end of the midfield, which is where they don't want to be. And then just finally on Williams, George Russell missed the Saturday again. Great qualifying on Saturday, just about missed out on Q3. But unfortunately, his pace just went in the race and just wasn't as competitive as he would have liked to have been. So which resulted in him finishing low down. Um, but yeah, so not exactly the race that George would have wanted. But even so, I still think there's a lot of positives that Williams can take based on the fact that George qualified as high as he did. So they've got a good car over one lap pace. It's just the race pace that they've got to sort of. But if they can do that, then I'm pretty sure that they will be there or thereabouts scoring points this season. I did make a prediction at the start that they would finish eighth, at least eighth in the constructors. So I still stand by that. I still think Williams will score points this season. And there's still a long way to go. I've seen enough signs, seen enough progress from Williams this year to think that actually they can score points and be in amongst that midfield. So yeah, still some positives that Williams can take from the weekend at Portimao. So that's the end of my review of the Portuguese Grand Prix, and I will also be doing a preview looking ahead to the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend. So they're coming thick and fast now, the Grand Prix. And yeah, if you want to talk to me about F1, so message me on Twitter at Baggies20, and I'm also on Instagram, Manish Patel 89. Take care, everyone.